So I'm here today at the American Sign Museum in Cincinnati, Ohio, of all places. I'm not entirely sure why they decided to build their museum here, but either way, it's still an interesting little piece of Cincinnati history to check out, and I'm here to see what it's all about. So the story behind this museum is that there is a weekly periodical called Sign of the Times that has come out for over 100 years. And basically one of the family members who had been in this industry for a long time and was an editor of Sign of the Times for a very long time, he decided that he wanted to build a museum because he felt like a lot of these pieces were just being thrown away because a lot of them are big and people didn't know how to repair them, and thought that it'd be better to have a place for these all to go instead of just thrown out. The idea first came about in 1999. The museum didn't open until about 2005, and even then it was very small. But due to frequent donations and even it having been too small of a space to begin with, they eventually relocated here in 2012. Now, these signs in this room are the oldest in the entire museum. A lot of these items are from the late 1800s and the first decade of the 1900s. As you can see, a lot of these signs are for old movies or just from companies that are long since gone. Interesting fact about this sign behind me is that that is actually 14 karat gold, which is pretty amazing to consider that anybody could ever afford to do that and that would ever be common at the time. Now over here we have signs from like about the 1910s. Most of these are from local Cincinnati shops that have come and gone, or local organizations. Now here, starting in the 1930s, they began to use actual neon signs, and as any of the museum caretakers will tell you, basically there are two gases that are used in neon signs. There is red, which is actual neon, and there's blue, which is actually called argon, which is another Nobel gas. And anything else in between, they added something inside the filaments, either coloring the actual glass itself or adding phosphorus onto the actual cathode. So this is the quote-unquote plastic era of signs, and this is when they discovered that you no longer needed actual neon gas to be able to illuminate signs anymore. If you just have thin enough plastic and paint them, you can make them a lot cheaper. However, obviously a lot of the fun of it kind of went out, but they have some interesting kind of later neon signs here. So this section is known as Main Street, and it contains a lot of large signs, and they've also tried to make it kind of look like an old storefront area. So if you look around, you can see like these storefront items for smaller stores that have obviously gone the wayside. This one's for a clock shop, barber shop, lots of shoe shops use neon. So there actually is still a neon shop in Cincinnati, and it is actually right here adjoiningly. As you can probably imagine, they need to fix neon signs every once in a while here. So if you look in here, they have their workshop, and a fun fact they told me is that a lot of these items still have to be worked on by hand because there still really isn't a machine to be able to deal with these neon signs, and a lot of the industry really hasn't changed since it began in the 1920s. This Howard Johnson sign used to be in downtown Times Square. It's still in pretty good shape if you ask me. You can see there's a little bit of graffiti on it, but I have to say it's probably my favorite piece of the whole building. Now this item in particular is unique as it wasn't actually manufactured by a real company. This guy wanted to start like his own shopping complex, and with Sputnik being new, he thought it'd be cool to call it the Satellite Shopping Center. And after he was told that making something like this was impossible, he made it himself. But fun fact is, since he was such an amateur, he didn't actually put an access panel in here. So if they ever have to replace anything on this sign, they actually have to open it up and pretty much like just carve it up to be able to get inside it all and fix anything. A demolition guy actually picked this up after wrecking a building, and he kept it in his garage. And it took up so much space that his wife basically bugged him to get rid of it. And obviously it found a good place here. But you'll notice they did not repaint it because this museum really doesn't believe in doing restoration work. Such as a sign like this. They believe that a sign should be kept in its original state, which is why it was not repainted and you can see it chipping off. So surprisingly, this big bear sign is actually not from California. I thought it kind of looked like the California flag, but this is originally actually from a grocery store chain that used to be in Columbus, Ohio. fittingly, the name of that grocery store was just called Big Bear. So there you have it. It's a bear. One of my favorite things about this museum that I'm not really sure is being able to be captured just on the camera is you can just hear all these signs just humming and vibrating. Like, there's nothing quite like it. So, I mean, you should definitely check it out in person if you want the full experience. I know it's just pictures on a camera, but in person, like, these colors are just so much more fulfilling to see eye to eye. So yes, this museum functions mostly off of donations. Very few of these pieces were actually bought. A lot of people just wanted these to go to a good home, and obviously I don't know a guy who has room for a giant 20-foot long McDonald's hamburger sign from the early 1900s, so I'd say this is probably the only place where a lot of these things could go. And due to having received so many donations, they're soon about to double the size of this museum. In front of me is this white wall, and in July that wall comes down and will actually open up a whole new part of the museum. So I would definitely wait until July if you're going to come here. But if you do, you will definitely see about, well, twice the museum is what I'm showing here. So anyway, that was the Cincinnati Sign Museum. I must say it was actually a lot more entertaining than I thought it would be. Just something about seeing all these signs up close made it kind of special. And obviously, I understand a video might not be able to just convey that, but if you stayed to the end of this video, well, clearly you were a little entertained too. So anyway, Cincinnati Sign Museum, well actually it's the American Sign Museum. I'd highly recommend you come to the American Sign Museum. It's a very beautiful place if you like to appreciate art, and especially art that glows and pops out at you. However, if you do come, see if you can wait until July when they pretty much are going to double the size of the museum and you'll get more bang for your buck. I really enjoyed my time here, and I will see you on the next one.